March meeting of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Board of Directors. It's being streamed live on Information Station. So if anyone online has comments they wish to make, they can text or email them to Information Station, and they will be relayed to us. We'll deal with that at the end of the meeting. Can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I like that.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I didn't notice it until I turned around.
You know, I just discovered that Wendy and company, our Eric, of course, they donated that to us.
That's beautiful.
Well, Information Station donated it to us.
Well, that's the and company part.
Yeah.
Okay, may we have a roll call, please, Jan?
Rita Eckerman,
Present.
Tim Grady,
Present.
Peter Carlin,
Yes, I'm here.
Dave Brooks,
Present.
Kevin Dowling,
Present.
Boyle's here, everybody.
Okay. Approval of the minutes of February 18th, 2021.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And minutes of the March 11th special meeting.
Oh, I don't think those were in our packet, but,
No, they were sitting on the table.
right. Oh, no, they're in the
They're in
packet.
there.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Do I have a motion on those?
So moved?
Yes.
Moved and second, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Citizen participation. Things are getting my eyeballs. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Finance, Brett, what you got for us?
We finished the month of February with $960,946 in the accounts in total. We brought in, year-to-date, the current levy taxes accrued $120,915 for a gain of $52,602 over last year, which is almost 7%, 6.9%. That's pretty good. We got a check for the conflagration, the Echo Mountain, for $8,011 in the month of February, which was nice. Personnel, year-to-date, we have $409,405 with benefits and taxes and such. And that's 65.4% of the budget. So we still have 34.6 to go, about a third of the year. So seems to be running on track with the budget, maybe even a little bit less. Tidewater station improvements through the end of February, $75,283, plus labor for Eric, which I'm sure he'd say does a bunch. Anyway, looks pretty good, actually.
Looks great. Looks really good.
That's all I have.
Okay. Do you have any questions or comments on the financials? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the finance report?
I make a motion to accept the finance.
Second.
Okay, and any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Motion be
I
adopted.
apologize, I skipped the staff presentations. My Well, these things are fuzzing up my glasses really bad, so, so staff presentation.
So the call volume for February, we had 7 fire calls, 58 EMS calls, 2 fire accidents, 3 water rescues, 11 lift assists, and 2 other assists, for a total of 83 calls for February. And for March, for where we are right now, we're already up to 69 for March. So our call volume is still going up. We had roughly pretty close to 40% increase last year, and this year's holding pretty strong for that same volume of calls. So it's running us, that's for sure. So total calls so far for 2021 is 241 calls today. Training wise, what I did was I streamlined the training just a little bit. So our total hours of training so far this year is 785.75 hours accomplished. And upcoming training sessions that we have for certification, we're actually just finishing, just last night finished the apparatus operator, so those are going forward for certification. And we have an instructor one that goes into the, right now they're doing their hybrid online portion, and they go into the presentations in the middle of next month, and then that'll finish off the instructor one. In end of April, beginning of May, we'll move into fire officer one. And so, academy is still the same number of students, and they take their final exam next Wednesday.
Well, that's great.
Their written exam, and then they do their final hands-on exam the following Wednesday, and then they're done, finally. Done. Maintenance.
So, I put the south end of the building up in there, but we've done a long time ago. You gotta take off this. Anyhow, the trusses are up, half the roof is sheeted, along with the racking of the fascia board. So if you've been up there, what you see on half of that will actually have a black fascia board that'll run it's about that wide. That's just kind of the holder in the back to make it nice and smooth, or nice and strong. All the hold downs are in. They're actually about 18 inches into the solid concrete. So those hold downs go from the concrete into that concrete. They get bolted to a big metal bracket. And that bracket bolts to the bottom plate and 4x4 down. And that's transferred all the way up through the top plate to the whole all thread. And it's bolted down up top. So it actually is in 13 locations all the way around the building. That top plate is essentially part of the foundation. It's all been bolted together. And of course, all the trusses have got hurricane ties all the way around. So all those are tied to that. And so if anything were to shake or move, it should make, later on when we do a seismic assessment on a building, it should make the work that needs to be done to get that whole certificate a lot less. So we don't have to tear apart everything that's being done. So, no, I'm not an engineer, so there's still going to be stuff that I'm sure is going to need to be done. But from building experience, this is what they've done in the past, so I'm not going to go that. Probably an overkill. So, other than that, half of the tar paper is up. The new beam post is in the middle, where there used to be an H motor frame. It still is right now. There's actually a post in that front door right in the middle of it that we had built for the alcove. That H motor frame is going to come out probably next week, so it'll just be that. The doors are going to be framed in next week, which they'll be 13-foot wide, 13.6 tall. So be actually taller than the doors in here, so we'll be able to get any kind of apparatus that we future buy into there without any modifications. So, our old ambulance definitely sold. Actually turned into a bidding war. Shocks me. It sold for $3,600. So it'll be gone hopefully by Friday. If not, if the guy doesn't come pick it up, we can start charging him. So we're going to figure out a storage fee basically, because he essentially owns it. All the generators that we surplused out at a prior meeting, I'm gonna get those on drug deals and see what kind of money we can get out of those. So, and then we're gonna start going through some of these components out here, because we've got extrication tools and stuff that honestly, we can surplus and make some more money, so. And then
Eric, I'm a little bit concerned when you're working up there all the time. Sometimes you don't have any help up there, and sometimes I'd prefer to see you if you're up on top with a little help.
I do have, so of course OSHA compliant rules say that we have to have a harness. I do wear a harness when I'm
Yeah,
up there.
right.
It's a 5,000 pound strap harness. So I don't like the harness, and you know, for my days in building, I never wore one, but because I'm up there, and now honestly, because I'm older, I honestly think very thoroughly about everything I do, because believe me, I'm the last one that wants to fall. So, and even then, it's not the fall that bothers me, it's the rough south that bothers me.
Yeah.
So,
Could we do anything to get you any help for that?
well, and I've had lots of people asking, I appreciate everything and everybody comes. I've been using it kind of as my solace. I go up there and disappear and get into my own little head and world. And, I have had people, there is, you know, Bob and Jim have come up and helped, and they've done tremendous stuff. Even the limited stuff that Jim can do, he's been getting up and he's got a lot of the center fire blocks in, and so he's been helping a lot, keeping the job site clean, so you're not tripping over everything. So those are the things that are the greatest help. So,
Well, I know you're doing a great job up there, and mostly you're doing it by yourself.
most of it, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic what it's turning into.
The lift has cost us a lot more than I wanted to. I was hoping to have it gone by now, but honestly, that lift has been, if you were to put it for, you know, into personnel, it's been doing the work, about 4 or 5 people, because of the way I've been able to use it. Use it as a, you know, somewhat of a lift, room lift, set trusses, and moving around in that job site. So it's basically 4 or 5 people down there helping me. And it doesn't hurt you.
And it's a lot safer than you going up and down ladders.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm not going up and down the ladder all the time. The one side that I don't have done, I'm gonna have to do a lot of ladder work. But there again, I'll be wearing, you know, safety gear harnesses so that I don't, if I do fall, I keep my phone on me, so if I do fall, I'll be hanging there and, you know, calling the crew and, hey, you mind coming up here? You know, get me out of the harness. So, but yeah, I do take a lot of safety precautions when I'm up there, 'cause especially when I'm by myself.
Well, I know you do. I just want to make sure that you've got some help.
And what I do have, like I said, I do have volunteers who come up and help out, so we're doing okay.
Okay, all right.
Now, do you get them to quit talking in his sleep about trusses or stuff like that? That'd be great.
So, but other than that, that's everything that I got right now.
Okay. Do we have a volunteer report?
Well, Rick had to run to pick up one of our crew members
Oh,
up in the hospital. I don't know, had something put together, I'm not sure what he was going to say, but I know that with the recruits coming on board, we have, you know, a lot more volunteer participation. We've got a lot of volunteers, including myself, when I'm not, you know, a pilot or something, going down and helping. They do a weekend, every weekend now. Rick's got, because he does the duty shifts on the weekend. We've got a whole crew that comes in on the weekend, and they do trainings and water shuttles and, you know, all sorts of stuff. He's got his own, you know, weekend super group, so it's pretty neat.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him out there training quite a bit. It's pretty awesome.
Okay. Any correspondence?
Didn't get any correspondence to pass on.
Okay. Is there anything else to add to Tidewater, or did we cover that pretty well?
Yeah, we pretty much covered all of it.
We've
Okay.
got I advised Brett, we've got some money coming back, you know, on our estimate drawings from Web Steel. This is before you guys, but the board had approved, what's it been now, a couple of years now, but
Yeah.
approved to have them come up with a building, the design, and, you know, they did all of the engineering and stuff for us. And of course, they charged us, but I was able to get more than half of that back. And I just Brett's actually been bugging me about it here the last couple of months. But I got notified this last week that the check will arrive here this next week, so, or this week, so.
Good deal.
Roughly?
$3,500.
Oh, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Good.
Anyway, that's the only addition I have, so.
Alrighty, so under new business, Jamie gave me a bunch of resolutions, and just take, no, I can read like this. Just take them in numerical order.
Yeah, some of them are coming from the same financial areas, if you will. So I still went ahead and did them just for the transparency of it, so that we know we're moving money around and this is what we're using the money for. Basically, so there's 4 of them altogether. And then as you go through them, I can kind of do a quick explanation if you want to just pause in between each one.
Okay. Okay, so the first one, Central Oregon Coast Fire Rescue District Resolution 2021-1. Amend the budget for fiscal year 2020-2021, whereas ORS 294.338 sub 2 provides for the expenditure of grants, gifts, or devices transferred to a municipal corporation in trust for specific purposes. Whereas ORS 294.463 provides for transfers of appropriations within a fund or from one fund to another. Therefore, the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Governing Board as follows. Equipment Reserve Fund 8255, cardiac monitor, we have decreased that fund by $7,000. And the Equipment Levy Fund 8037, requirement or expenditure uniforms, increased by $7,000, sorry. To budget for a transfer due to the uniform purchases to comply with contractual requirements and replacement of worn uniforms in excess of what was originally budgeted in 8037. The funds will be for a PPE uniform purchase of $7,000. And then the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Resolution 2021-1, amending budget for fiscal year 2020-2021, adopted by the General Governing Board of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and District this 18th day of March 2021.
So what this is in the contract, we've never met the compliance requirement to provide NFPA-rated uniforms to our personnel. I don't know why, and I'm not going to look at why, or I'm just going to move forward from there. So the way I look at it is while it's a contractual requirement for our employees, if I provide PPE to responders, I provide it to all the responders. So this isn't just to get 6 sets of uniforms for the union firefighters. This is to get NFPA compliant uniforms for our entire responder pool. And the volunteer association, I approached them prior to this and said, this is going to be a pretty penny for this stuff. And would you guys be willing to help in this purchase? And the Volunteer Association voted at their last association meeting to contribute $2,500 towards the uniform purchases out of the Volunteer Association pool.
That's great.
So this is going to cover NFPA compliant shirt and pants with 100% cotton shirts underneath. And then we're going to get this sweatshirts, everything in line under one district logo and just be good with everything across the board. So that's something that's been on the radar for a while, that the multiple volunteers and staff have been asking. And so by doing this, that'll give me the ability to do that, and then also provide field jackets to our responders for when they're working on medical calls in the rain and knock in their turnouts, because we try to keep our turnouts as dry as possible.
So the total cost is around $7,000?
Yeah, it's just slightly under 7,000. The 7,000 gives me enough just in case there's unexpected expenditure as we go through things like that.
So where are we moving the money from and to?
So in our equipment cardiac monitor. That's been in there for the last couple of years with anticipation of buying it, but there's never been a reason or a plan to buy it. We have 2 cardiac monitors. One's our primary, the other one sits on our medic unit as a backup. And they are both fully functional. They've been serviced. They're ready to go. Resolution number 3, I believe, is to use some of those funds to purchase AED pluses to make sure that all of our vehicles, other than our utility vehicle, are carrying AEDs at all times. And then also put an AED just inside the front door of the building for public access as well, which will get posted on our post point after.
How much did we budget for the heart monitor?
It was 30,000,
Oh, okay.
which isn't enough to buy one. They're about, depending on which model you get, they can be upwards of 50, 60.
Well, we have 2 that are functional now.
Yes.
Makes sense to me.
Do we need to start throwing money aside for one of those in the future? How long do they last?
So having 2, the backup one's probably gonna go out soon, but with these AED pluses, there's not gonna be a huge need to have 2 monitors. As soon as we start seeing wear and tear on that primary monitor, then we'll use our reserve funds to recover for that if we need to. It's really gonna honestly depend on how many ALS personnel, because they're really the ones who use that monitor to the full spec of that monitor. The 80 pluses allow us to, any EMT, EMR, even a CPR provider to go apply to a patient and then provide that cardiac shock immediately if need be. So it's really universal to have those AEDs on their vehicle and then have the added bonus of the cardiac monitor for any ALS functions.
And we have 103 in our equipment reserve right now. So we'll use 30 of it, we'll take 30 of it away, is that what you're saying?
No,
We're just 7,000.
There's 30 in that one line item out of that whole fund, and these 4 resolutions only total to about 19 of that 30, so there'll still be 11 remaining in that fund. We can continue to contribute to that fund over time if we need to,
Right.
if we start seeing the need to purchase another cardiac monitor in the near future.
We always want to build up our reserve.
Jamie, I think this is excellent fiscal responsibility, being able to pull a rabbit out of the hat from this fund and put it to that. That's very good.
It's just, looking at the needs of our responses and making sure that we're kind of filling some gaps. We've got 2 AEDs that have been broken sitting on the shelf for a while. We need to get those out of here and replace those and get those back on vehicles again. And anything, from our frontline engine down to my staff vehicle should all have AEDs, because you never know if you're going to just come across one of those situations and need to apply it right then and there. And also by putting one here in the station as a public access, that's going to add to the AEDs available in the community as well.
There used to be one up there.
It broke.
It broke.
Yeah,
It's one of the,
yeah. We really have to make sure that when we buy equipment like this, it gets serviced by the appropriate companies, because those servicings are often tied to warranties. And when you have somebody else come in and service them, it voids the warranties, and you can't get them fixed without
Right.
paying almost as much as a new one. So,
Thanks for checking with us before purchasing. We've had that problem in the past. And all of a sudden, we're
well,
equipment in here, and we go, what are you going to use that for? I don't know, but it was a good deal.
the money's got to be in the right spot before you can
There's a
spend
fire
it.
truck out there, where did that come from?
I'm not the kind of guy that goes and spends money and is like, hey, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's great. This is, we're taking money out of a fund that we haven't been using and being able to disperse it.
The fund is always there.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
We're just taking money out of our reserve.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of the money is moved for expectation, and I'll explain that here in a second. So it's not like we're going out and just spending this money all the way. There's a grant that I'm going to explain here in a minute. That's what this money's for too.
Right.
So,
Good.
so do I have a motion on resolution 2021-1?
I make a motion that we approve the resolution.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, resolution 2021-2, amending the budget for fiscal year 2020, 2021. Do I need to read the whereases every time? Because they're the same.
They're all the same.
Yeah. So therefore, the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District governing board resolves the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District appropriations for fiscal year 2020, 2021 are hereby amended as follows. Equipment Reserve Fund 8255 cardiac monitor decreased by $2,000. Equipment levy 8036. Communication equipment increased by $2,000. To budget for as transfer for Kenwood radio purchases to equip vehicles with AEDs for use on emergency responses in excess of what was originally budgeted in 8034. Funds will be for a purchase of 10 Kenwood radios for $2,000.
Yeah, we'll have to fix that second line there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what this is the $2,000 goes into the fund that currently has $10,000 under communication equipment. The Office of State Fire Marshal put out a grant. They have $2 million that's available, and its purpose is for funds to go to fire districts that were impacted by last year's fire season. Of course, we responded and participated. Even had a fire that was in the Echo Mountain complex, which was the terrace fire here at our Milepost 4 fire, is what we call it too. And then we deployed crews to Echo Mountain for multiple days and multiple operational periods as well. What we've asked for is, we've asked for $40,000 in the grant to buy 15 radios with spare batteries and vehicle chargers, because you have to actually get the specific vehicle charger type, or they just fall out of the chargers when you're driving around.
Yeah.
And we've asked to get full PPE from head to ankle. And I say ankle because we already provide the appropriate level of boots, because it's a combination duty boot / wildland boot that meets an FDA. So we will get, if we're awarded the grant, we'll get the $40,000. These funds, with the $10,000 already in that equipment, communications equipment fund, will purchase a total of 25 radios. And there's a radio plan that I wrote for the district so that every vehicle will have the appropriate number of radios mounted and charged within the vehicle at all times. So when responders leave the station on the vehicle, the radios go with them. Right now, that's not the case. The frontline engine has radios on it, most vehicles do not, and people have to grab radios as they leave the station from the radio bank. Most of those radios are broken. So this is going to fix this not only for providing enough radios to do communications on scene, but also to make sure they go wherever that vehicle goes as well. In that grant, we also wrote in there a mobile repeater to be put on Brush 72, which is our first wildland vehicle. And it's also our conflag vehicle if we get called up to assist with a conflagration in or outside the state. That mobile repeater will work on any channel that vehicle can broadcast to. It'll work with their portable radios to boost that signal out to the nearest repeater. So by having that on there, not only if we're way up the highway in 34, can it boost it back to our simulcast system, but if they're halfway across the state and working on a channel in that radio bank, they can boost it to that system as well. So it's going to help with our communications whenever that vehicle's on scene. We also have one on our command rig, so if those are both on scene, then they work together and they send the signals off. So
How far away can the portable be from the vehicle that has the booster on it?
it's basically line of sight, so if you're just working in the general area, if you reach a little further, it depends where you're at and terrain on it. So,
Okay. Any discussion about resolution 2021-2?
We need 25 radios? I mean, I don't really know, but it seems like a lot. I don't know.
what it is it's 4 radios on the first and second out engines, so that's engine 72 and 73. It's two radios on our Brush 73, and 3 radios on brush 72, 2 radios for our rescue, 1 radio for each command unit. So it's divided up. It doesn't
Gotcha.
cover every single seat in every single vehicle, but it covers what we typically would staff in those vehicles if a lot of people showed up.
Gotcha.
So it's not going to cover us 100% in terms of seats, which is what a lot of organizations do. They say if there's a seat, there should be a radio. It's not going to cover us 100% that way. What it's going to cover us is the most likely there's going to be between that vehicle plus a couple other vehicles on steam. There's going to be enough radios for everybody, so that everybody's got one in their pocket.
So do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
What's the shelf life on these radios, if you will?
So, how long ago did we buy, or because it's before my time? The current Kenwoods that we're using now.
Before my time. John, do you remember?
What we're using now, you got on surplus.
Oh, so they're super old.
They're older models, yeah.
They were brand new when we got them, though.
But they were older,
Older.
obsolete models.
Yeah, so when I called Complete Wireless, they're the people that do our programming and installing radios when we need it. I asked them about our radios and if we can get more of the radios we currently have, and they said our radios are obsolete, we can't repair them, we can't get parts for them unless we can find other used ones and then cannibalize what we can out of it. So it's just time to upgrade the radios. My guess, if I was trying to make a guess, because I don't have an official answer for that right now, I can go and look and see what the average is.
Well, I'm just thinking about, I mean, we're doing this now, and it's a great idea, but we also should probably be looking at budgeting for, you know, so that we can keep them up to date and replaced as
Yeah.
needed.
It's the same thing as the air packs,
Right,
you know, they
yeah.
only last so long.
Yeah.
I would guess 10 to 15 years.
Yeah,
would be
I just don't,
good.
I don't like making, I don't like making these large purchases without some kind of a backup plan in place for being able to.
Luckily, it's not as bad as like computers, where
Right.
by the time you take it out of the box, it's already
Yeah.
outdated.
Right.
These things last for a while.
Okay.
Typically, what'll happen is technologies will change. I don't want to say it's one of the good things, but it's one of the good things is the technology on the coast doesn't change very quickly. So these radios are digital capable, but we won't see digital for a long time, so they'll still work with our system. But if the coast, or the county specifically, I should say, ever went up to a digital system, we would be able to cross right over with that
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
I don't.
Plus having enough of them there so that, we can, the batteries are all consistent, and radios are all consistent.
Yeah, one of the issues that we had, the first day I was at the Echo Mountain, the first day we deployed, I was up there for 24 hours. My portable radio only made it about half the day, and I didn't have a spare battery. And so there's spare batteries in these purchases, make sure that we have spares, but we actually had to just grab another radio and have somebody run it down and take the battery out of that, throw it in mine, and then back up and running again. And that's a lot of logistics just for a battery swap.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
Good.
Can those extra batteries charge by themselves in the chargers?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So we'll set up a charging bank, and then we'll have basically a good battery and bad battery set up. So that way the batteries that are waiting to get onto the chargers are identified, the batteries that are already fully charged, ready to go on a radio are right there.
Okay. Okay, so now we're up to number 3. Resolution 2021-3, amending the fiscal budget for year 2021. Same whereases. Equipment Reserve Fund 8255. Source is the cardiac monitor again. Amount of decrease $8,000. Into the general fund 8034. Expenditure medical supplies increased by $8,000.
So this is what we were talking about before with the AEDs. This is to purchase those 4 AEDs, put them in the building, put them in the vehicles. This makes up for having to have another cardiac monitor floating around. This provides us with automatic defibrillators in
into that category from,
So the only other, when I was looking at the line items, the only other line item that we had for medical equipment was back in kind of the same reserve fund area as the money's being coming out of. So if we need to put a different line item on here, we can. We're just gonna have to find it.
right, well, I'm thinking that maybe in the upcoming budget process, we might want to look at defining it a little bit more, because
Yes.
medical supplies, to
There's-
me, that's Band-Aids and, you know,
Yeah,
Mercurochrome.
Yeah, there's some line items that, for instance, the PPE uniform one, there's that one, and then there's also a 9,000 series uniform line item that has nothing in it, and hasn't had anything in it for a while. So, we can just kind of clean those things up and make
Yeah.
sure that there's not a lot of duplication.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, I guess because I think of the AEDs as being more durable equipment as opposed to, you know, medical supplies,
Yep.
so.
You might want to look at the descriptive line on this one too, because it's confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
Yeah,
Okay, Pete
I move.
moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And finally, but not least, Resolution 2021-4, same whereases, Equipment Fund 8255, cardiac monitor decreased by $6,950 to Equipment 8036, communication equipment increased by $6,950. Budget for a transfer for Minitor 6 pagers purchased to alert responders of emergency responses in excess of what was originally budgeted in 8036. Funds will be for a purchase of 15 Minitor 6 pagers for $6,950.
Yeah, so currently, we rely very heavily on a program called Active 911 to alert our firefighters over their cell phone. This requires either access to a Wi-Fi connection or to have cell service at the time that the call gets dispatched. What this does not do is when a call is escalated or when additional personnel are requested to respond, it does not do a second alert. So those calls will oftentimes go unheard and nobody is aware that crews are asking for more help. These pagers, I'm sure that a lot of people have seen these pagers before, they use the radio system and they broadcast radio transmissions through the alert system of the pager. Every time that our district's alert tones go off, that pager will respond and activate to alert that person. So we've had calls that turned out to be seizures, for instance, and then when the crews get on scene, it's actually a cardiac arrest, possibly as a result of the previous condition. And they ask for more help because the cardiac arrest takes a lot of people, okay? And with everybody who's looking at their phone, it doesn't send out a new alert because it's activated based off the dispatch's CAD system. So they don't create a new CAD for that call, they just add to the current CAD. So anybody looking at their phone doesn't get told that people are asking for help on scene. The other side to this is we're going to set up a paging system so that when, for instance, if you're a volunteer and you have to work in the morning, and so you don't have the ability to go on calls that are, let's just say, a public assist or even a low priority medical call. But if there was a structure fire or a major car accident, you would be willing to sacrifice some of your sleep to help out on that. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So far, this paging system will allow for personnel to select on the pager how it activates. So if they want to be woken up for what we call a all-call type emergency, it'll activate. If it's a lower priority call, won't activate, and they'll continue to sleep through the night. I think that this is a good program because I've seen this work at my previous district, because people who want to participate and help with the really manpower intensive calls will often do so, even though it may be make them late for work, or it might cause them to lose some sleep at night. But they don't want to be woken up for every single time that they have to go out and, bandage somebody's thumb that they cut while they're slicing a tomato. So this is going to make it to where volunteers who are willing to come for a structure fire, but also need their sleep, can be alerted as needed. I hope I'm explaining that as well, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not
oh,
my
yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
makes
think it
sense.
makes perfect sense.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion for Resolution 2021-4?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. So, I guess we're down to chief's report now, unless there's other new business we don't know about.
I was asking about more discussion about making room for Act West move. Is that gonna be in the chief's report?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got the things that have changed since this was sent to you, and I've got those over here. I'm gonna run through this real quick. So I answered the request of streamlining my report. It's no longer 4 pages long, it's 1 page long. So you're welcome. And the first thing on there is district policies. So we talked last meeting about tackling the different policies one policy at a time. We sent you chapter 1, and then we'll put chapter 1 approval on next meetings.
How many total chapters are there?
47.
11 or 12. There's a big one coming up, but it's yours. So, I don't feel bad about that. So, it's the board policy for the board overall. That's one of the bigger ones, and then there's, medium-sized,
There's
small.
a couple that are
If
just.
they're smaller, yeah, let's combine them. I don't want to drag this out for a year, so let's try to get
That's-
this done over the next 6 months, I would say.
We're happy to.
Yeah.
At first, we kind of sent you the whole book, was like, good luck. And then, you guys said, hey, how about one at a time? So,
And I can combine the smaller chapters, so that
Yeah.
they're going to, if they're the
Yeah.
shorter ones, so
Right.
that, yeah, we're not just taking a whole year to.
1 page for a whole month,
Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be
A
great.
lot, this first one's a little bit longer, and I think the next one's the longest one.
Okay.
And then we can start moving them up a little bit more.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so we'll put the approval on next month's agenda, and then we'll also send out the next one for next month's with the, notes and things.
If we have any comments or changes throughout the month, should we just email you so we kind of have it ready by next month, so we can get that approved in case, so we don't have to do any changes or major things?
Email it straight over to Wendy, because she's got the master documents on her computer, and she's also got the PDF writer that she uses to modify it. So, she'll probably tell me about it, but she's gonna be the one actually doing it, so cut out the middleman, just send them straight to her, and then she'll come and say, hey, how's that, so.
Perfect.
So Mackenzie Group, I called them after we had our session, and they are pressing forward. They'll have a contract that's ready for us next week, right, at the end of next week, if everything goes right. The boathouse, John Kelly is here. He's been the one who's the point for the boathouse. He went down and met with Roxy on Wednesday. Yep. And things are still moving forward. They're just working with the port, the group that's doing the port. It sounds more and more like they're gonna be the ones to possibly put that together for us.
Right now, they're trying to engineer the floating system.
Yep.
And they have to figure out how to strengthen the front of that house to keep the dock from spraying. So they've got some engineering hurdles.
Yep. So the odds are our boathouse won't be be done when the port opens back up, but it'll be the project they're working on, pretty much the last project they have left, once the rest of the port's done. So, EF recovery, yeah.
Can I just, when we first started talking about that, one of the things included in the boathouse was gonna be a hoist
Yes,
to keep the boat out of the water. That's still in there?
that's still in there. We've been looking at different types. We found a floating one that filled with air to lift the boat out. We've been looking at that.
Oh, really?
We're really kind of waiting for them to say how the configuration of the boathouse is going to be, so we can know what we can and can't put in there. And then, we'll pick from there. At this point, we're kind of like, hey, let's just see what the house even, what the drawings come out to. We also need to talk with them because the boathouse was not a dedicated line item it was in the bond, but it wasn't a dedicated line item in the bond. There's funds that are left over from the bond in the project, and then funds from their general fund that are covering this boathouse. They may need some assistance from us. We have a line item in our budget for the boathouse.
Yeah, it's about 20 grand, isn't it?
Yep,
Yeah.
and so we'll look at that, because that could also impact what kind of lift we put in there as well, depending on what funds we have left over out of that line item. So,
Good.
we're gonna work with them, and as this continues to move forward, we'll keep you guys up to date.
That's going to be an excellent asset when it's finished.
It's gonna be great having that out of the bay and having that extra space, that's
Mhm.
for sure.
And getting in the water that much faster. I mean,
Well, so this evening, we did a water rescue where we had 2 rescues in that process. And, the engine had to come back to the station, move the vehicle out from in front of the boat, hook the boat up to another vehicle, and then tow it down to McKinley's and then launch it. All of that deployment time would have been cut if it was already sitting in the boathouse on the water, and all we had to do was drop the lift and then get on board, secure everything and go. So that would have cut out a significant amount of time on this rescue. Thankfully, everything worked out. We were able to make the grabs and get them on the way to medical services. But we also had a Coast Guard helo coming. They were en route. They had actually activated and launched just in case. Not only for, in case something happened with our boat or our rescuers, so that they could do the rescue, but just as a safety for our rescuers overall, to have them overhead.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna pull for that more and more when it's available, just to make sure there's a second level of safety for us, not just for the victims as well. So, it just depends on when the Coast Guard is available.
yeah.
So.
And I would personally, in my opinion, and I don't, everyone else can say what they think, I wouldn't want to see funds for this boathouse have to come out of the port's general fund. They have little enough money in that fund to begin with. We've got the 20,000. We could probably find more if we needed to. They have the smallest, even with what they just got, one of the smallest levies in the state. So I'd feel real bad if they had to use some of their regular general fund money for that boathouse.
We're kind of just coordinating with them and letting them tell us what they need, and then going from there. And so I think as soon as they have more development on this project, then we're going to get more information about what it's going to cost, and we can go from there.
Great.
So, EF recovery is up and running, and we're going to be doing our second quarter staff meeting with all staff, both Seal Rock and Central Coast, here in the first couple weeks of April. And I'm setting up and coordinating with EF recovery to have them virtually participate in that meeting to provide us the initial training to get this program so that we can start putting in claims on calls that we respond on, that take the burden off of our public. So we've got that up and running. It's all, the agreement's all completed, and at this point it's just training and activation of actually putting the program into place. Budget requests, well, we really didn't get a whole lot of budget requests, really at all, so we're just working away at the budget. We spent most of today working on the budget, and we still have a little ways to go. I'm going to coordinate with Brett next week to go over some budget areas, and hopefully in the next 2 weeks have at least a draft version to start looking at.
normally don't we start in April, right? Remember correctly, we do like the
Yeah.
budget meeting, so,
Yep. And I'll send it out as soon as we get a draft version up and running.
yeah, because we gotta do that budget meeting in April at the April board meeting, because we normally do it before the board meeting, and then May, we approve it as a board, right, as a separate thing.
It's the other way, May and June.
Oh, is it May and
Yeah.
June?
Yeah,
Yeah.
May and June. In April, you designate a budget.
Budget committee.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then we're fine. Good. Just wanna make sure we're not following on schedule there.
Yeah, and it's moving along, we're almost there.
Cool.
The military vehicle outside, so I've been working with LDF, and at this point, they've got it narrowed down to, it's either gonna go to another fire agency down southern Oregon, or it's gonna be transferred over to the city of Walport. City of Walport took ownership of what's called a DRASH unit. It's a military trailer-bound shelter system that has onboard generator, HVAC. That depending on what type you get, it could be a really, really big shelter, or it could be a small octagon type shelter. That trailer is really heavy. It takes a big military vehicle to move them, I know from experience. And so that truck, they've asked if they can have that truck from government agency to government agency, because that truck would be more than capable of pulling that unit around. And so I called them, and I'm just waiting for ODF to say, give it to them or give it to them. So hopefully it'll be gone soon, one way or the other. And then like Eric said, that the medic unit should be gone here really soon too, or we're gonna start charging them for storage. So hopefully we won't look like a used car lot on the side of the building.
Thank you.
So surplus property, Eric already covered the ambulance, our HPP grant, MCI trailer. I've been working with Emergency County Emergency Management, and the trailer's been relocated up to what we're referring to as the SLR storage space. That's where all the equipment is that needs to go into that trailer. Jenny provided me with an inventory list for that trailer. This was a grant that was provided to us. This trailer is one of two trailers, one for the north portion of the county, this one's for the south portion of the county. We're gonna stock it up appropriately as it's supposed to be, and then we will relocate it over to the green building where it'll be kept inside in a vehicle bay, where it's in a atmosphere controlled climate, ready for deployment if we have any kind of mass casualty or any kind of big disaster type incident, where we can move it to that location.
To
So
to the which building?
the green building that's at the training center that they just recently designated. It's if you know where their Station 61 is, the red colored building right there off Highway 101.
Okay,
Just back in
Oh,
across
okay.
the street, there's a
Seal Rock.
building. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we're gonna locate it there. Because there's an open bay there it's controlled by the HVAC there, and it'll take care of that equipment, so. Might need to look at a bigger truck somewhere to pull, I think it's a car carrier.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hopefully talk to them about maybe reducing the size of the trailer in the future. It's a big trailer, so. City Hall move, so after our meeting, I went over and I met with, Mr. Cutter from the city, and, they, as far as I know, from what I've been told, are meeting this coming Thursday on the 25th. And part of that meeting will be to approve the addendum that we provided in the addition to our lease. And so if they do, then that will give us the green light to occupy. For the meantime, we've been able to move things over here to make space to go over planning with PacWest, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And just kind of get it so that when we do get the okay to occupy, it's not that big of a move at that point. So if you, tonight after the meeting, if you walk through the hall, you can kind of see some stuff move around. It's not really on display point yet, but you can kind of see where things are gonna be for the most part.
So the entrance to the fire department will be here now, the old
Yes.
city hall entrance?
For admin, yes. We'll still have the other door, and it has a ring system on it that rings upstairs to the crews
Right.
when they're there. We'll probably move the other ring announcer over here, so we just know if somebody's over there. It just takes a while to walk, you gotta walk through both buildings to get over there, so. We we did open the door between the office and the admin area of City Hall, so we can easily move back and forth for the time being. So,
After all that work that Eric did soundproofing that door.
And it was noisy coming out.
it was fun taking that out. Yeah. So some things that have changed since I sent you my report. They are doing vaccine clinics over at the community center. We're going to participate and assist our EMTs, EMRs our EMTs will be trained to help administer vaccines. Our EMRs will be in place to help with the overall process over there, as well as emergency management. PAC West will be over there as well. I did a inspection on the Tides Distillery on Tuesday with Oregon State Fire Marshal Shannon Miller. So we went through there. There was some work to be done over there still. One of the big things, I had 2 meetings this week. The first one was with PAC West. The second one was with Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. The first meeting with PAC West, I met with them and told them about our future plans with this property. And I offered the first floor of the fire station side, if you will, to PAC West for their living quarters. I offered to build the temporary quarters needed to get through the next couple of years till they get past the construction of the retrofit station if everything goes to successful. And up to what they paid for upstairs. And then they would take over the cost and the cost above what they had paid for upstairs. Because we will utilize upstairs to provide more bedrooms for responders to stay on the engine so I can stop sending them home when we have the occasional 4th person on duty. They just yesterday responded back and accepted. And we also talked about modifications to the lease as well, which were very positive. And so they'll be getting a much larger space. It'll give them, the biggest focus was we're not trying to isolate from each other, but we're trying to make sure that there's a comfortable space for both groups that would take away a lot of the cohabitation issues that we were having before. Because we're outgrowing the station very quickly. So that was good. They also, one of the conversations I had was, because they will be part of our facility, if you will, and because they will benefit from the retrofit of the station, I've asked for them to participate in campaigning alongside with us, and they've agreed. And so that's going to give us additional campaign assistance from another response agency here in this area.
Good, we can use all the help we can get.
So I met with the sheriff's office, and I kind of did the same thing. I said, we want you here. What are you going to be doing forward for your needs as a law enforcement agency in this facility? It was a very, very positive conversation, and they are very happy to be invited and to be able to stay here with us. And they are going to develop their needs list over the next 30 days so that they can work with us, with McKinsey, to also be a part of it. So we are no longer retrofitting a fire station. We are now retrofitting a public emergency services complex is what we've been kind of nicknaming.
That's great.
So not only do we have the assistance from McKinsey in terms of the architects, engineers, and et cetera, we now have the sheriff's office, the ambulance provider, as well as our district and our union, all going to be out campaigning as one team, one voice, to hopefully get this bond approved and create a public safety facility for this community.
So in essence, it's going to be a public safety building.
Yeah, it's going to house law enforcement,
Yeah.
fire, and medical.
Great.
All in one spot. So if you
Good.
hurt yourself while running from a bad guy, you wanted to report a fire, you no longer have to go to relocation. You can just go one.
That may open us up to being able to do better in the grant department as well.
It will, actually, it will. So
Good.
And we're gonna actively seek out any grants we possibly can to help with this as well.
Mhm.
We already know that we have a timeline for the seismic grant in December. So that's obviously being worked on, and we're gonna look to see what we can find. So,
Excellent.
yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I talked about pagers already, I talked about the volunteer association's, gracious donation towards our uniform plan. The wildland grant that I referenced earlier when we were talking about resolutions, we should get the notification on whether or not we're gonna get those funds on April 15th. And if we did get awarded the funds, we will receive the funds, they'll be released, May 1st. So that should be.
Quick turnaround.
I've already, in preparation for the grant, I went and I pulled quotes and I did all the data gathering to be able to, as soon as we get that money into our system, I should be able to immediately turn around and place those orders, which means that with the current timelines I've been given from the vendors, we should have that gear and those systems in place ready before our wildland season kicks off. So if everything's good, we should be ready to go by the end of July. Our wildland season that goes typically starts to ramp up in August, September. So we should be hopefully good. I'm really shooting for no fires on the coast. So if we could just do that, that would be great.
Mother Nature's been nicer this year than she has in the past.
One of the things that I just kind of want to just have out there for food for thought, we had a discussion today at the Fire Defense Board meeting about a Senate bill that's being put forward. At this point, I believe it's just deliberation, talks, discussions, so to speak. But they are pushing to remove, if you're familiar with what's referred to as unincorporated areas, basically gaps between fire districts and fire departments, et cetera, that are unprotected land. There are residences in those locations, and they don't have fire protection. If we go out there, then the option is to bill for the services they receive, or they can completely deny us if they want to. This bill, from what I'm being told, is going to remove the existence of unincorporated areas up to 7 miles outside of a fire district, possibly altogether. Not really sure yet. Again, it's just in the kind of discussion phase at this point. What that means for us is that it will and it won't change what we do. We fall under closest resource. So if somebody crashes, for instance, in their car 5 miles outside of our district of Highway 34, it still goes to us for response because we're closest resource. In this case, this is really geared towards wildland fires. If this were to get passed, all that gap between us and Alsea Fire District would no longer be unincorporated areas and would now fall under the closest district that correlates to that, which means that those residences, how few there is, would be annexed into our park. So this is something I'm going to keep my eye on as it continues. It may progress, it may not, it may completely fall flat. At this time, I just want to make sure that people are aware of it and that I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I'll continue to progressively update as I get more information on it. It wasn't a lengthy discussion, but it was a popular discussion today.
So annexed in, fully annexed in so they pay taxes, or just that we have to respond to them?
No, fully annexed in is what I'm hearing.
Right,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Like I
What would
said,
that mean
this
as
is-
far as, so then the wildland fires, right?
Yeah,
We would have to be required to, basically, we'd be first response instead of ODF.
it could be, that's one way you could look at it. ODF will still come if we ask for them, because we have a mutual aid agreement.
Yeah,
But it could be designated as our jurisdiction and no longer just U.S. Forest Service or ODF land, depending on where it is.
right?
Yeah.
And that could extend pretty darn far in our district, because we go
So,
way up, and if 7 miles both sides of that, because Seal
Yeah.
Rock is pretty shallow,
yeah,
if we spread out 7 miles on both sides of that, that's a lot of freaking
Yeah,
forest land
right.
with no tax base.
And right
Because
now,
there's no buildings.
they're saying 7 miles, but if you look at the district boundaries, there's more than 7 miles between us and the next district. So I don't know if that means that they're not part of this yet, or what's gonna happen. Like I said, this is just discussions at this point. I'll keep my eye on it and continue to update as I get more info. But, you know, this could affect our district in different ways, so. We did have a fire last year, that was milepost 44 on Highway 34 that we were requested for mutual aid with LC. And we sent a command vehicle, a tender, and a brush engine to go assist with that. And there was Corvallis, Columbus was up there as well. So just because it's not in our jurisdiction doesn't mean that we're not going to be affected by it. In this case, it may just expand our jurisdiction further than we are now.
Right. I don't know how far west Alc's district comes.
Thank you, guys.
We ended,
Really appreciate that.
we ended
Let's get
23, so
extra close to-
somewhere halfway between that line, it's gonna be us versus them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they go 5 miles or.
Well, keep us up to date.
I will do. I think that's plenty, but that's all I get right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say that this is a very complete report. This is far better than we've received in the past. You're to be commended for your work.
I can type a lot, but I really try to make sure I streamline it down as per request.
I'd also like to ask at this time, where are we at with the chief's contract?
Should have it any day. I just talked to her today, so,
Excellent.
yep,
Sooner the better.
yep.
Yep.
You want to go back to the volunteer report?
Oh, yeah, you wanna do your volunteer report since you came
Volunteer
in?
report, Central Coast Taxi just transported a young lady to the hospital to be with a friend, and that was kind of nice. What the volunteers been doing, Chief already spoke about the academy, so you got that pretty good. On the weekends, we're continuing to come together to learn new things. We did a water shuttle last weekend. On one Saturday, in the very near past, we were out on the water, we did that. We've been doing driving, we do check rigs every Saturday morning. We have a crew of 7 to 9 people that I contact to see if they're available. And right now, EMR is going to mess us up a little bit because some of those are going to be gone in the afternoon, so we've been looking to make sure we have coverage. And it's not to replace the staff, it's when they go to milepost 44 that we have somebody in district. Always looking for more volunteers. That's been, as long as I've been here, I actually looked at my calendar, and at our next meeting we have in April, it'll be 7 years with my anniversary since I've been on the department. And we've always looked for volunteers, and we're still looking.
Excellent.
Endless process. How many do we have total now?
Oh, I'm going to give you a shaky 12 to 15, depending on what time of day and hour that it is.
Yeah,
We do have Tidewater outposts, and they are available up there, and we do have at least 2 or 3 at all times, which is nice.
Yeah.
We do have a couple EMTs. One is in the academy, one is just came on board, EMTI, and that's kind of nice for the weekends because if we do need to call them in, we can. Today alone, when I just called, we just had it for water, I looked around, there were 6 of us there that were volunteer, not paid.
that's great.
That's a good turnout for the young lady, when I was taking her to the hospital, she says, "Is that many people normally show up for a call like this?" I said, "You don't know who wasn't there, that's just the ones you saw." So she was quite amazed. But I think our volunteer group's doing very well. We're meeting on
Monday after next.
Last Monday of the month.
last Monday at the association meeting. We're doing, those are working well.
29.
We've extended our election until the July timeframe. Normally we have it in March. We want more volunteers. You want to volunteer, good. Now
That's about it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Rick. I don't have anything special to add. Do we have any viewer questions or report statements? Or?
We do not.
Okay. Anything for the good of the order? Nope. Okay, we are adjourned then.
Excellent.